But yeah, I mean, look, and it's very exciting to have you on the podcast, man. So, look, I've had the privilege of meeting you in one of the concerts, and yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, I'm sorry, didn't get much time to interact, but however, the little brief catch up that I had, I've cherished, and I still have those group pictures and everything stuck
Wow.
on my fridge.
Right. This was what Ninja,
uh, no, Trichy.
Of course. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. This time the all these the youngsters were there, Madhura and
yeah, yeah.
Sneaky there,
This
and of course
badam
we
milk
met at
ketchup.
Lucky and all that in the night. Where was that place? Right
அதான்
next to
பாதாம் மில்க் தானே.
Badam Milk. Yeah. Yeah. What a blast! At 2 in the morning, something after the gig, we went out and we had people were recognizing Haricharan. They were
Correct.
weird place right in the middle of Trichy. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that's it.
what bus stand area, main bus stand. Some dare. At 1:30, that guy is also having great
Correct.
business at that time.
So I still have those group selfies and everything that we took, and I've stuck it on the fridge. So every time I go make a coffee, I look at it, and it just brings a smile.
Lovely.
So yeah, man, I'm super excited. Like, look, and that was my last concert before COVID,
Yeah.
and yeah, so of course, look, things changed after the COVID, and I really hope things get better. Um,
They can only
fingers
get
crossed.
better. I always believe in that. They can only get better from wherever
Yeah,
they are.
yeah.
So,
So how have you been, man, with everything that's happened in the last year and a half? Not from the recent past perspective, but more from a pandemic perspective.
I honestly, it didn't affect me.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't come from that materialistic idea of the world. Even otherwise, I'm very deeply spiritually inclined as a person. So, pardon my fumbling because when I think I just do that thing. So, yeah, I mean, because of that, I never felt the need to have people around me physically.
Right.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but that's who I am as a person. So I can do with a phone call, I can do with a video chat if at the most.
Yeah.
And that satisfies my need for interaction. And plus the whole fact that after a really long time, having traveled almost 18, 19 years,
Wow.
since 95, that's about 25 years I've been traveling.
Amazing.
Didn't realize it. So all of a sudden, all we had was the family for each other.
Yeah.
Just the three of us, my child, my wife, and me.
Yeah.
And it opened out a beautifully huge window for us to have that togetherness, that time, quality time that we were having. And it was beautiful. At the same time, I was also counseling a lot of my friends who had taken the lockdown badly.
Okay.
And hope that they took something from there. But this is what I talk about, even otherwise, COVID or otherwise.
Yeah.
That satisfaction and peace and happiness, you have to find it within. It can't come from an outside source. And if you're able to devote yourself to a pursuit which is devoid of materialistic results, in my case, that was my classical music training and my instrument, and a lovely time for myself, which I got to develop my skill sets to get better at what I do, and without any without the need for validation. That's how you need to devote yourself to anything. It could be anything. It could be social service. It could be one thing in your life that needs to be devoted for non-profit, non-result oriented, rather non-materialistic pursuit. And that really will help you in dealing with such situations. And it kind of was there with me from the beginning. I think that's what kept me going. Yes, the financial stress was there, but then again, you realize, I don't know, I mean, so many Facebook posts or, people that talk about it, that before the lockdown, before COVID, we would land up going out so often
Hmm.
and spend so much that even though the income during COVID was less, the expenditure was also comparatively much lesser. So we could really tide on with
Correct.
some savings, of course, but we could really tide on. And even now also, before COVID itself, I had started this online teaching thing
Super.
where I don't personally teach, but I've designed some courses. Currently, as we speak, I'm learning. I've devoted, let me say, my time to learning web development. So I'm building my own WordPress website, very extensive website, wherein I'll be pulling in all my courses in there.
Hmm.
And there will be newer teaching methods. And then these boys are here. So I'm devoting a year and a half of my time. I told them that that was our deal, that you give me your couple of years of your life and I'll give you 2 years of my life. And we'll see where it goes. And they are happy. I'm happy. We are having a lovely. We never knew each other from Adams. They just contacted me over your social media, and here they are. To come and learn. So that was something. It was very surreal for me also to see that they have seen something in me which they want so bad that they have left their families and come over here to stay with me and learn. And
Wow.
that kind of boosts your need for responsibility towards them, and
Hmm.
the need to give them all that and more because of their faith in you.
Hmm.
So all of this, and then there was mom, there was us moving to Bangalore. We couldn't afford the dual establishment. There was my mortgage going on in Mumbai the place that I have in Mumbai, I had now. And then this rented place that we were staying next to my parents' house. So it was just getting a little too much for us to handle financially. So I basically shut shop and moved to Bangalore, lock, stock, and barrel.
Wow.
And the family was okay with that too, because we are from Bangalore. My schooling and everything was from Bangalore. My wife is born and brought up Bangalore.
Hmm.
So, and the climate is pleasant. It's so much better from that point of view.
Hmm.
So it's turned out beautifully for me also. There has been a lovely growth, internal growth as a person, as a musician. And as far as work is concerned, it's there, it's not there. You could never generate or fight for work that way. I could never manufacture. I've never had to call people for work ever in my life. So that is something I never learned also. So that will take care of itself. Yeah, you have to be happy within. Even if we are able to get 2 square meals a day, that's enough, I guess.
Wow. Man, so inspiring. Amazing. So
I'm
good.
not saying I'm poor. I'm not saying I'm financially troubled. I'm only saying, yeah, I know it is inspiring. I guess. Thank you for your thing. I had to cut you suddenly because this
No.
can get misunderstanding. A lot of people will say, "Oh, you can live 2 square meals a day. Oh, are you in trouble? Can we help you financially?" That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean the whole. Your richness needs to be inside. Your richness doesn't have to be materialistic. You don't have to have a Mercedes or a huge bungalow or all the riches and great clothes to wear. We don't really need now that we are locked down all the time. We have realized I haven't had to buy clothes in I don't know how many years now. I'm very happy with the stuff I have. We have beautiful, amazing food at home, homemade food, no Swiggy business, no calling for it, and it's beautiful. There is so much bonding, and we have all the time to do our own work, school and family, or groceries and all that, and my business work and everything. It's all smooth, and we are also getting to spend time with each other. There is no travel, there is no pollution, there is no expenditure. There is so much good out of this, and that's all I am able to see.
Wow. Wow.
And it's beautiful. And it's beautiful.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's really good. I mean, it's to be honest with you, I think it's pretty rare to hear something like this. Of course, I've done like 84 podcasts or something, and I do like to check on people on how they are doing and how they have been doing with everything that's happened in
Yes,
the
that's
last.
important. They are family. They are family.
Yeah, and then I mean, it's very inspiring to hear from you. And is it obviously I see a lot of spirituality around everything that you just spoke, and then have you always been like this in terms of more from a spiritual pathway, or is that more like a transformation that happened at some point with a switch or something? I'm intrigued, hence why I'm asking.
I was like this as a child. Then I moved to Mumbai. Then I learned the tricks of the trade, the realities of the world, uh, the what we call pantra in Hindi, pantre. What is the word in English?
Um,
The transactional part of life, with other people,
right. Yeah.
and the cleverness, the street smartness, all of that I picked up there, and I had become this other guy. Plus, there are when you rarely face failures as such. Success was almost like every time sure shot, because God was kind to bless me with the skill set I had.
Hmm.
It made me this other person.
Hmm.
And then about 7-8 years ago, some very personal thing happened, and it changed me for good. And I've come back a full circle. Now,
Right.
when I look at my son, I know at that age I was exactly like that, and he's that same guy that I was at that age.
Yeah.
So I know that I've come a full circle, and with a lot more experience, and with, like someone said, what is experience? It is when you learn what not to do. That becomes your experience. And with all that experience, now I know exactly what not to do. I may not know what to do, but that has brought me like this. So to answer your question, yes, there was a switch when I moved to Mumbai. I had become this other person. I don't know, good or bad, I can't tell. But I was off the spiritual radar for a while, and then I got back into it, and I will never go back there again. I know that for
You
sure.
had this, how should I put it, a moment of self realization, and then
It
that's
was a phase more than a moment,
understand.
yes, but it
Yeah,
did happen. Yeah.
for sure. Ju- Again, look, I'm just curious. Just tell me one or two things which you learned not to do. Uh, it doesn't have to be an eyebrow raising one or anything. It's something I'm just intrigued, and hence why I just want to know what are those. I mean, yeah, I really love conversations like this,
It's
as you
nothing
can
that
tell.
hasn't been said before, but I would think not to expect.
Right.
If I have to, what I'm talking to these boys also, more than the music, I'm talking to them about the philosophy stuff
Yeah.
that I have learned from my mentors like Ranjit sir, and my own experiences also. For example, if I have to really put it in one line, I would say, if anybody's hearing this and if this can help them, don't try to make life happen to you.
Mm.
That's what I tried to do when I went to Mumbai. I tried to make life happen to me because things were happening already. So I thought I was in control of a lot of things, and I tried to make life happen to me. And then the return to innocence, if I can call that, was to let life happen to me. And there is far more beauty in that, and how you receive it with open arms, than try to make something and then that doesn't work out. Essentially, when you try to make life happen to you, you are basically blocking the natural flow of how life would want to happen to you,
Mm.
and thereby disallowing either of these eventualities. Am I
Mm.
making sense?
Yeah.
If life had happened, something would have come out of it. You're By trying to make it happen, you're not allowing that to happen. And
Mm.
what you are trying to do also is not going to happen, because life is not designed like that.
Mm.
And there's a lot more to this than just experiences and all that. It's all about cosmic energies, and we can go on I can go on about 3-4 hours on that subject. It's all about cosmic energies. We are moving forces in nature. We are moving forces of energy, and our energies need to be in tune with other energies around us. In fact, extrapolating all the way to the edge of the universe, if there is one.
Mm.
So all of those energies are at play simultaneously. Everything is in constant motion. All that quantum physics theory and whatever you might have come across in that regard. All that actually is at play even in what we call life.
Mm.
The very definition of life is still, it's vague for most of us, mine included. And but this is what it is. So when I let those energies flow, you meet beautiful people, you meet like-minded souls, you meet you learn from other people constantly, and unbeknownst to yourself, you also land up teaching other people. You may not have to know that you're actually teaching someone, but as long as you are in a certain way, other people will look at you. Either they will know what to do or they will know what not to do. Coming
Yeah.
back to the same thing. So
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Amazing. And have you found yourself in the spiritual pathway?
I don't think that is the purpose. There is no self.
Right.
And once you let go of that is when it becomes spiritual. Because the moment we say self, we are already delusional about our idea of our conditioning of self. Ki our physical appearances, our social statuses, our financial strength, all of that comes into play the moment you say self. So the whole point of spirituality is to get away from that conditioning and to see the bigger purpose. And there are so many perspectives to that. I may be even talking from half-baked knowledge, but from my own realization, that's all I can say. It's again that we are figments. Each one of us, you and I, are figments of the same super consciousness. And for the whole super consciousness, for it to make sense to itself, it has made us as figments for us to understand individually and then what we call collective consciousness. And what I see it as one big super consciousness. So if this mind, like your body, performs, so everything is the same thing at a macro level and at a micro level, from an atomic level, subatomic level onwards, till the way the whole universe behaves. That's how your mind is working. Your brain instructs your body parts. Each part is doing its own job. So we are all here to do our bit to fulfill some eventuality for the super consciousness to understand. We don't know that. Your finger doesn't know why it is doing a certain thing to your forearm or to your ear or whatever that you're doing, and they are all doing their own bits. So your brain is what is getting the satisfaction out of all those movements. If I'm talking to you like this, then my brain is instructing me to do something. I am listening to it. I'm registering you understanding what I'm saying, and then the cycle gets completed there. My brain is also satisfied with the activity. If I was talking incoherently, you wouldn't understand, I wouldn't understand, and it will all be chaos. So this system is being followed at every level, macro, micro, in between, there, here, if you start observing this that way, including music, it has the same functionality. It has the same way. There is one need to be fulfilled, and there is one source of fulfillment for that need to be fulfilled. And this whole binary friction, I call it. I've used it in one of the songs I made. Incidentally, I need to tell you this. Let me cut.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't cut, I'll cut. This here.
Yeah.
If you can see this little.
I can.
It's a gift from AR, sir.
Wow. So cool.
During our One Heart trip, the film that came out on Netflix. So I wrote a song. In fact, I tried to arrange something based on a very popular Tamil song, Ennathavam Seidane.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I did a I don't know what to call that genre. It's a bit of hip hop, a bit of drum and bass, a lot of things in it, all recorded from sounds on this synth and manipulated, of course, on Pro Tools. And I got a friend of mine to sing it. She's a co-singer with Hariharanji on his shows. She's also one of Mumbai's topmost radio jockeys, Lavanya Padmanabhan.
Yeah.
She sang that song, and there was something missing in that song. So I landed up writing this English spoken word bit where I used this phrase called binary friction.
Right.
So there is that transaction going on for need and fulfillment, and darkness and light, day, night, right, wrong, good, bad.
Yeah.
One without the other doesn't exist. So that the whole binary system that we know
Mm.
comes from that philosophy.
Wow.
So you can't really attribute good or bad to anything. It's then it becomes a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
So if a thief is robbing something, for him it's good because he's gaining something out of doing that activity. But the guy who's lost that particular thing, for him that's bad. You see
Mm.
how it works beautifully?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we come into society and we say this is right, this is wrong, and you punish some people, you reward some people. I personally I can't relate to all that. You can call me
Yeah.
mad, but I really can't relate to all that. I would rather be with myself and with my music, and I'm discovering that also music being a dimension, one of the dimensions of for the consciousness to
Wow.
further its purpose in understanding what it needs to understand. Music is one such dimension. It's not just frequencies and science at play.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
a lot more. It's something that we don't see, but we can hear and we are able to experience the same set of frequencies. I was talking to somebody, and this guy is a science freak. So he said, "What is music? It's just a set of frequencies being played at a certain uh, over a certain time period,
Mm.
and that does something to your hormonal, you know,
Mm.
system. And if it makes you happy, then your happy hormones are out. If it makes you sad, then it makes you cry. That's what it is." I said, what happens if I play the same piece to five different people, or the same piece again at the same time the next day? I don't get the same feeling. How can then that be a mathematical equation? It is not a mathematical equation, and that then is not science, or then it is something that science hasn't discovered yet.
Mm.
So what hasn't been discovered can't not exist. Then that's a dimension.
Mm.
Music gives you that dimension. It gives you the vibrations to align yourself. There is a supreme. You can deny God. I don't know, because I don't know if there is a God, but there is a supreme which has caused this whole thing. And we will never be humankind. I don't think will is we are not equipped. Our brains are a lot more superior to anything we have seen.
Mm.
Sorry, this thing has gone off.
Yeah.
It'll come.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll come back. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's what it is. And we are not we are not cut out to playing God. You can't.
Yeah.
You have to surrender. That is the purpose of spirituality. Then where does self come in that point? At that point, coming back to answer your question, when you surrender, there is no self. You've given up. You've just let go. Then there is no you at that point.
Mm. Amazing. I have so much to explore.
Yeah, I guess these are the things that have kind of helped me in coming to terms with Amma.
Yeah.
Not physically being there, I can still, every night, the last 3 odd weeks, she has been throughout with me in my dreams, holding my hand. I can't tell you, I haven't shared this with anybody, but this is what is happening every single night. She's not going away anywhere. Physically, yeah, her absence will be felt, but
Mm.
it's I'm too much in tune with that thing to
Yeah.
to react in a more mortal way.
Yeah.
To react like
Yeah.
by crying or by wanting to talk about it. Oh my God! Or
Not easy.
yeah, it is not easy, but it's not. It's my response to her not being around is going to be again along the same spiritual lines. It's not going to be
Mm.
something. It's not a material loss.
Mm. Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I broke my phone. It's not a material loss, or whatever it is that could be important to you. It's not a material loss at all. It's spiritual.
True.
And you can still live with that person. You can still be spiritually connected to that entity,
Mm.
or your impression of that entity
Mm.
that you have formed during your lifetime.
Mm. Yeah. For sure. Yes, I get. I can completely understand, and Yes, but stay strong, which you are
Yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah.
And I see a sense of calmness on your face, and I usually see that, especially with people who have been meditating for a while, and they kind of know how to maintain that Zen mode. For
Yeah,
instance, Sir, he's always in the Zen mode.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's something I picked up from him also in weird ways. Yes. Oh,
Why do you say weird
he's
ways?
an abundance of knowledge. He's just observing him work
Yeah,
and just be is we are blessed to be able to be around him, man. What we call avatarams, no, in our mythology.
yeah,
These are avatars.
yeah.
They're spreading a message that subtly spreading it. They don't know that they are avatars. That's the difference. Like Lord Rama didn't know he was God, whereas Krishna knew he was God. This is the kind that doesn't know they're gods. These people, all of these, Nelson Mandela,
Mm,
Kalam sir, APJ Abdul Kalam ji,
mm,
AR, Sachin, Gandhi, all these entities have that power.
mm,
And in fact, going back to that song, I don't know why weirdly I hadn't planned this, but that Yannatham, if you can get a chance to listen to it, it's on an album called Singles, the album. That was also very weird because I just picked out all the songs that were lying in my hard drive since many years and completed those songs. They were supposed to be released out as singles. So I just said, okay, I'm going to put all of these together. So there is no cohesion with respect to the kind. They're multilingual, multi-genre, multi. The last
mm,
song is Yanatavam. So in the poetry, Papanasam Sivan, I think he wrote that.
yeah.
Yanatavam Seidana Yasoda, where, கிருஷ்ணரே உன்னை வந்து அம்மா என்று அழைக்கிறார் இல்லையா?
Mm,
So there, the intention of the poetry was different. Ki, wow, you're such a blessed mother and all that. But what have you done to bring God here?
mm,
To be that medium, to be that mother? We would like to know, is the question in the poetry, in the Tamil version.
mm,
My extension to English spoken word section speaks about all of that that happens in Kali Yuga. So there is a lot of bloodshed. The oceans are not blue anymore, and or so blue that it's sarcasm. I've called it oceans so blue. They're not supposed to be. They're supposed to be blue, but they're not. And then it's sarcastically saying that, oh yeah, this is blue. Yeah, yeah, of course it is blue. That kind of a sarcasm. And then I go on into there has to be binary friction, but there is soul friction also. People are fighting with each other. They are on edge at all the time. Anybody, we walk into the street and you, of course, outside of India, there is a lot of that formality that goes on. You get into an elevator with some stranger and then you go this. And then they don't want to smile back or they just do that. And it's very evident it's not a smile. And that's a formality they follow. We don't follow that. And all of that happens. And then so she says, you made a promise. When he said, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavatu bharata, wherein every time there is a dharma ka ullanghan, I will take birth and I will come to save, is what he had said. In Gita Upadesh, he starts off saying, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir. So she says, you made a promise, stick to it. And it's your cue. She says, your cue. And then on cue, the flute starts, as though symbolically, Lord Krishna is playing the flute. Comes back full circle again. So I lost my content. I lost my thought process. Yeah, that's what goes on. We were talking about something else related to this.
Picking up things from Sir.
Yeah. So the idea for the video was that these are the people who came. God did keep his promise.
Yeah.
He didn't go back on it. But he sent out human mortal forms of himself. In fact, as an extension to that, which is why I canceled the idea of doing all that, putting all those faces to those people, because we'll then dilute the purpose. Each one of us, which is what our philosophy teaches us, Hindu philosophy teaches us. I'm not a propaganda thing, but this is what I know, and that's what I'm talking about. So That's what it teaches us. And it says that each one of us, there is God in each one of us. What does that mean? That there is good. There is that need to be beautiful
Mm.
in our soul. But we pick up from the devil also simultaneously. Therein comes your binary existence. And hence we become who we become. So there is a proportion of good and bad inside us. You
Mm.
take what you want to do, you pick from there, and then you become who you want to become.
Mm.
So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is becoming something different.
No, no, it's
Going somewhere
great.
else.
It's amazing that how you're able to, how should I say, number one is being on the spiritual pathway is one thing, and then how you are able to apply it in your daily life is one thing, and then also in a music sense perspective as well, and
Hmm.
the things that you learn along the journey, like picking up stuff from Sir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You said weird things, right? What are those like the or in weird ways?
In weird ways, yeah. So
Yeah,
he doesn't, the exact same thing that he doesn't know he's actually teaching.
right, that way. Yes.
By sheer being who he is and our intention to learn from him, there are people who
Right.
are around him who don't learn anything from him, being around him. So
I
not,
can agree with you.
yeah. But then there are people like people who have not met him also. Just hearing his music, people have learned so much from him. Not just musically.
There are
His
millions like that.
spiritual
Like,
side, his patriotic side, his devotion to his work, his worship through his work is something unbelievable. How one man at that level of fame and popularity and constant uh, being constantly judged, being constantly uh, commented upon, can keep such zen-like personality and stay tuned out of all of that nonsense and be true to his music, be true to his work, be true to everything he does, and that's who he is as a person. Incidentally, we share our birthdays, Sir and me.
oh, huh? Array.
So yeah, so to a large degree, I can relate to who he is as a person. And that's not something I'm saying from a
Yeah.
egoistic point of view. I'm able to see why he does a few things because I do it. I have done it before I met him. Also, I've been doing those things the way he does it. The only difference is the bank balance and the popularity quotient, but that's not the point of this conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so jokes apart. So there were things that I could instantly pick up, seeing why this man is like this. It's a very very simple example. We were doing Tuhire during One Heart.
Yeah.
We used to call it the North America Intimate Tour, NAIT,
Correct.
which then became One Heart concert film.
Movie as well. Yes.
So during that time, during rehearsals, we were doing Tuhire and we couldn't get that loop, dum, tuk, tuk, dum, dum. So he said somebody needs to program this, and Annette wasn't a programmer as so much as she was a player, and Karthik Devraj was doing something else at that time. So he suddenly looked at me because I was also running Ableton. I was running some loops, some string samples. I was running clicks for the band and playing my flute. So I was assigned this position right at the back of the stage, and I was covered with gear around me. And Ranjit Bhai kindly, very beautifully had introduced me to that world. So he suddenly turned to me. He said, "Ashwin, no, that Ableton thing. You have the latest update of Omnisphere?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And thankfully, just a week before that, I had updated Omnisphere to its latest version. It's a synth. It's a synthesizer.
Yeah.
Software synthesizer. So I had updated it. So he said, "Do you have version 2 point whatever that latest version was?" I said, "Yes, I have it." And he was in the other side of the stage. He was in the other corner of the stage, rehearsal stage.
Yeah.
So he said, "Okay, then go into this library, go into this sub menu, and inside that, this particular thing, and then under these synths, you will find a synth called that particular name. I can't remember it, but he remembered it. And as he was saying, I could literally spot those synths and I could literally get to that place. So he said, "Okay, now change these parameters. And then now you use your pitch bend and then you play this." And that was it. The point here is he remembers, and Omnisphere synth alone has about 20,000 sounds in it.
Okay.
He remembers every single of those. He remembers every single of his other material, all of his other software, synths and synthesizers, his keyboard settings. And I've heard he has about 200 keyboards in his studio already from Panchatan and all that. So how devoted can one be to know so much about their work, to know so much about, it's not work then, no, it is love.
True.
And unless you have that, a lot of people aspire to become like him, but I can never come to say it to their faces, but I have seen that they don't love that job so much. They are in love with the fame, they are in love with the popularity, they are in love with the sound also, but they don't know how to get it. They don't know how to make it their own. And all of that comes by being in love with the subject. How does it happen? It's, if we can analogize that, young teenagers in love, they wake up, good morning onwards, they are exchanging WhatsApp messages. Immediately about 7, 8 o'clock, the boy skips breakfast, he runs out, takes his two-wheeler, picks up that girl. They are both lying at home saying they're going to college. Then they're together. Even in college, they're together holding hands. They're constantly exchanging messages. And when they go back, evening, they watch a movie, probably they have food together. And then he drops her home. And then he's on the phone with her after he drops her. He comes back home. How many movies have we seen this? And then late in the night, until 2, 3 in the morning, they're exchanging WhatsApp. Suddenly he wakes up in the middle of the night. Suddenly he sees if she has sent something or she's doing the same thing with him. And then again next morning. And when he is sleeping also, or she is sleeping also, they're dreaming about each other.
Correct.
You see how that connection is, it's never disconnected.
Yeah.
That is love. If that is love, why can't we apply the same feeling to the subject of our choice? Why can't we eat, sleep, drink, dream music? And that's what this man has done. And that's something that we can, it's an instant, it's so evident here. Someone who's so, when Roja came out, I remember I was in 10th standard, I think 10th or 11th, I think. And we were so in awe of Raja sir until then, Ilaiyaraaja. And then I remember people in my family also, my extended family would say, this guy, a young boy called A.R. Rahman, his music, nice, no? Yeah. And then he did something else, and then some electronic based music he came out with, I think Indian or something. And then they said, okay, 4 or 5 years, he's a flash in the pan, he's going to go away. This is what I've heard people talk about. They would say, oh, it's all electronic music. What's the point? How long is it going to survive? He came out with album after album after album, which were all trendsetters. Rangila, Thiruda Thiruda, May Madam, Pudhiya Mugam, all that scene. Then Duet, suddenly Breath of Fresh Air. Then all of that, just when you think, oh, where is the music of Duet? And then he comes up with something like Kandu Kondanen. Oh my God, where is this coming from? And then suddenly he goes into Lagan. Then he goes into, this is reinventing oneself. How can you do that unless you're in love with your work, with your subject of choice?
True.
And if you want to be someone like him, you have to live that life. It's a saintly life. It's a life of sainthood. It has nothing to do with the worldly pursuits. That is the quality people miss. Hence, there may be flashes in the pan. There may be, great music, one-odd great music done by a lot of other people, but they can't sustain it because of this. They lack this quality, is what I feel. I feel they are not able to let go of the, again, the same Gitopadesh, no? He says, don't expect ma phaleshu kadachana.
Correct.
Karmanyavadhikaraste. It is exactly that.
Very true.
Do your karma, don't expect the result. These people get consumed by the result. They become celebrities and they start becoming, tantrum mongers. And then they don't know what to do. And there is too much work on their hands. So they farm it out to other people. I know so many music directors who don't compose, man. Being part of the industry, with due respects to all of those, they give it to assistants to compose and they just sell it in their own name. Where is the integrity in that? Sir, even today you go into the studio, he's writing music. Every day he writes at least 2 songs, whether it's recorded for a project or not. He composes songs every single day.
Mm.
That is devotion. After 28, 29 years of doing this,
Mm.
he has no reason to be so in it. That's because he's not doing it because of who he has become.
Correct.
He became who became because he's doing this.
Very true. Rightly said.
So that's something we have to all learn. I mean, maybe, of course, from him, if we are a musician, he's been, anybody who says he's not been influenced by Mr. A.R. Rahman is lying his nostrils off. I wanted to say something else. Anyway, so that's what it is. So let's not be delusional. He has given us so much just
Yeah.
by being who he is.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So,
Amazing. Totally agree. And then, have you had any spiritual conversations with him? Because you being on the spiritual side, and then
first time I went to his house in LA, we were all
Yeah.
invited for dinner. This was
Right.
during NIIT only. So around the end of the tour, we had 18 shows in 23 days. And we
Yeah,
were all bundled in a bus, beautiful
I was
tour
going to
bus.
say it. Yeah.
And it was, we had about 4 buses. So one was for him, for Sir and his immediate team. There was his secretary and all those 2, 3 people.
Yeah.
And the second bus was for the band, which was Ranjit Sir and the rest of the band. We were about 8, 9 of us. Keba, there was Annette, there was Karthik Devraj, there was Shiraz Uppal was traveling with us from Pakistan, and Jonita, Haricharan. So we were about 8, Mohini,
Mm.
and amazing family. I have done a few bus tours in the UK and Europe before this with other bands, and within a week we would have friction. Okay, it's like Big Boss. If you've seen Big Boss, wow, whatever they call it in the West,
Yeah.
and it's that. So you put 4 people together, there is bound to be friction. First 3, 4 days it'll all be nice and cozy and warm, but then the true demons inside you start acting up. So I was waiting for that day. Somebody is going to have a fight, big fight.
Yeah.
Beautiful family, beautiful bunch of people, amazing souls, not one problem child. You know, you always have that rotten apple in every basket. There was none here. And Ranjit sir, of course, he was that father figure that we could. He was more than being a musical mentor for me, at least, and during that band for all of us during that tour. He has been that philosopher, friend, philosopher, guide, the quintessential friend, philosopher, guide that one would aspire for. All his experience, we would share music during the travels between, in between gigs. We would just listen to music. That bus was equipped with all kinds of internet and all kinds of music and Spotify and everything. And we had US Spotify access to that time. We could listen to all that. Oh, it was magical. So then there was a third bus with all our technical crew, and then there was a fourth bus carrying the riggers, the union guys.
Yeah.
People would rig and dismantle the whole set.
Oof.
So apparently it belonged to Justin Bieber's team. I don't know. So yeah, so your question, I just digress. There's too many memories just suddenly came.
No, that's great. That's the whole point of this. Your interactions with Sir, and you were talking about in his LA home.
So LA towards the end, I think 15th gig or something was LA. We traveled from East Coast to West Coast. So so he suddenly said, let's all meet for dinner today. And we have 2 free days now. And then we moved to Seattle, I think, after that. 2015, this I can't remember much. But then so we all went and said, Sir is calling for dinner. Oh my God, Sir is calling. That was the night when he gifted me this keyboard also. So we went there. And there was this, some temples have it. Some places of worship, let me not say just temples, some places of worship, not all of them, have a certain incredibly divine vibration about them. It's the place. It's the geographical location of the place. It's also the vibration of the souls that live in there.
The aura.
Yeah. So his aura, we were there with him for almost 2-3 months now, rehearsing, playing show after show and hanging out, having food in green rooms, nowhere else. That house I entered and I I could feel that I was somewhere else.
Wow.
And there were he had called his local friends also, some LA people also. There was crew, we were about 40, 50 of us in that house. But I could only see that man. I couldn't see anybody else there. And he doesn't like being, his feet being touched. We have this tradition of touching feet. No? So I cornered him actually. Literally, I just went to him. I cornered him. I said, sir, I know you don't like this, but I feel like doing this. Please accept it from one soul to another. He said, what? I just fell at his feet and I was crying like a baby.
Wow.
And I was not emotional at all. It's something about that place, something about that vibration, something about the divinity, the aura, like you said. I couldn't control myself. And people were thinking, what's wrong with this guy? And I was also a little edgy at times. In fact, if there was a rotten apple of any sort, I was that guy in that bus. Because I could be very easily worked up around that time. And I was still in my transformational phase at that time.
Yeah.
So then he said, oh, don't, you're embarrassing me. And he suddenly felt such a child here. He suddenly, he walked off. He didn't want to see it. He couldn't take it. So he just walked off.
Yeah.
Enjoy the food, something he said. So I don't know what he said also, I can't remember. Something like that he said, and he walked off. And then food happened, amazing, great. All photo sessions, people taking selfies with him. I just didn't feel like it. That's why when you asked me yesterday for a photo with him, I have all of 3 pictures with him, I think, in all these years. Out of which one of them, there is SP sir also from one of these Ninja concerts in, I think, Coimbatore or someplace. And the other one was with Shiraz Uppal, or I can't remember.
Okay.
Somebody else was there. So just to put an Instagram post, I used some app from that time to wipe out that face. Sorry, whoever you were. I hope it's not Shiraz, because Shiraz is also a lovely dear friend of mine. But whoever it was, they must have been a good friend of mine. And I'm sorry I had to do that to you. But I needed that duet photo with us, him and me. I don't have one. And the other photo I took was the first time I met him at his office in Powai, in Mumbai. And somebody clicked it with iPhone, and iPhone lenses have this tendency to distort at the edge. So my head looks like it's been picked up by a crane.
Oh.
So, so I don't have a photo that I can boast with him. Not one.
Right.
And during NIIT, I was so far back in the stage that I don't have any picture with AR sir from NIIT. And not that I'm complaining, but this is what was happening. Everybody else was taking selfies. So I just started walking out, and he was sending out some gear from his house with his roadies at the same time. So I was wearing my shoe, and I saw his roadie carry this synth with him, JDXI. 2 days ago, I had been touring the tour itself. That had come out new that time, JDXI synth, Roland. So I was checking it out at B&H, and I could suddenly see somebody stand next to me. So it was AR sir. What's going on? I said, sir, this synth is very beautiful. Nice, no? Yeah. I have 3. Okay. And then suddenly next thing, he'll catch me going through some other, some camera equipment, because he also likes video, and he's obviously at his level.
Yeah.
But I'm learning lighting and photography now. So I kind of want to do this. This lighting also, you see, this is professional lighting, by the way.
It looks great. I love it. I absolutely love the background, and
and the contrast on the face and all of these things. I'm generally learning.
And the color coordination and stuff. Yeah. I like that.
So, so he would catch me checking out gear.
Right.
Gimbals, cameras, lenses.
Yeah.
And so he constantly, every time he would do that, he would just say one thing: you're not behaving like a flute player.
That is sir for sure.
Yeah. You're not behaving like a flute player. I said, first time I didn't understand what he said. Second time I was like, okay, what is he trying to say? Third time I asked him, I said, what do you mean by that, sir? How do you expect me to be? You want me to be that Pattadari or whatever? So he said, no, I mean, flute players don't do all that you do. So I didn't know how to react to that. So all that, and then cut to this place in LA, and he was standing to send us off. He was saying bye to everybody, those who had already finished wearing their shoes. And I had these huge caterpillars on me. So I had to take my time to wear my shoes. So he saw me look at his roadie, look back at him and said, "Sir, this JDXI synth you got it this time during the tour." And he was playing it also on the tour.
Yeah.
So I said, "Would you advise I get this synth?" Was going to buy my question.
Yeah.
He didn't let me complete my question. He suddenly looked at Kevin. He said, "Tomorrow you guys are going to that place. There's this place in near one of those Hollywood Boulevards or something like that."
Yeah. I can't remember, but I know that place. I remember going there when I went to LA.
Yeah, dealers. So you get a dealer price there.
Correct.
And so he said, "Tomorrow you're going to that place?" He said, Kevin said, "Yeah."
It is in that Hollywood Boulevard only, right?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Off one of those streets inside Hollywood.
Correct.
So Kevin said, "Yeah. So are you going with him?" I said, "Yes, I'm going there to pick up some stuff. I want to buy this tomorrow." He said, "Okay, don't buy. Kevin, that's a gift from me to you. So Kevin, get him that. Make sure that he doesn't have to pay for this synth."
Oof.
So next day we went there. I picked up some other stuff. And then there was Kevin holding that JDXI in his hand. He said, "This is from sir to you."
Amazing.
So in Seattle, when I met him in the room, I knocked at his door. I said, "Sir, I need this. I mean, thank you very much. I don't know what to say even, how to react to something like this." And he said, you don't have to react. So, so I said, "What do you mean you don't have to react?" I was emotional on one side and I was laughing my guts out inside. Okay, that's how much of a child he is.
He is, yeah.
So I got him to autograph this. So I went out, got into one of these 7-Elevens and picked up one of those color pens, markers, and came to him and I said, "I want you to autograph this." So he just wrote something very small. Where to write? This thing's so beautiful. Whatever I read, it's going to make it dirty. I said, "Please don't do this to me." He said, No, I'll sign. Where do you want me to sign? So he found one really small corner like I showed you there.
One you showed me.
Yeah. And then he just wrote his initials with love. Okay, he's written there.
Correct.
So that was that. And it was surreal. For a first tour, I had never met him. For as long as Naveen Anna was playing with him, I never thought I'll get a chance to work with AR sir. To be very honest with you, this is the truth. So by 2014, I had kind of stopped doing Bollywood and all of the other commercial work I was doing. I had kind of really excused myself from being part of those bands. They were paying me handsomely, with due respects to all of them. I was not enjoying being there. Right, so I had kind of completely started to concentrate on my classical music, Hindustani classical. And then this happened. So out of the blue, which is what I mean when I say, when you let life happen to you, it will happen to you. When you try to make life happen to you, it is not going to happen. So, I mean, of course, Naveen Anna still plays with him, but the live thing, because there was this whole intimate band concept since that One Heart tour, we have been part of one single band. So along with Ranjit Bhai leading us, and then there was Keba, Karthik, Gulraj, me, Mohini, and then Mohini got replaced by one other bass player because she also had a couple of tours to do with a Japanese band, I think.
Yeah.
And am I missing out? Of course, Sanket. How could I forget? Sanket was my best buddy during the whole tour. He still is very close to me. And it was just
I need to get him on the podcast, man. Sanket.
Yeah, of course you should.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a laugh riot. Yeah. For all this spiritualism, you need something to the zero for everyone that he is. He's a laugh riot. He's an amazing guy. One of the coolest guys I've met in the Mumbai industry.
Right.
He's too cool.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm so glad you're part of the team, man. I mean, it's so cool. Look, I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed the stuff. I mean, because I was obviously closely watching your rehearsals and stuff like that as well in the last concert that I was.
Was I rude to anybody? Did you see me? Did you catch me at a wrong moment?
but I was loving it. I was loving it. So, but it's unfortunate that I didn't get to interact with you much. But I'm thoroughly enjoying this podcast. I, I mean,
And
I
look,
want this to go even for longer.
on the way it's gone and you like it. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And look, of course, look, one of the things I definitely wanted to ask you was, why did you choose a flute? Of
Flute chose me. I didn't choose it.
Okay,
I
beautiful
was
answer.
playing sitar. I was a sitar player. No, it's not. It is reality. I was playing the sitar. My mother is a sitar player. She is. And so when I was two and a half, she gave me a baby sitar and I started learning that. And then
Yeah.
the time I was, I think 4 or 5, I can't remember. I started learning the full size sitar from her and from her teacher, who is Ravi Shankarji's senior student. He's no more now,
Mm.
but Ramarao uncle. So I used to go there and learn from him. I was quite okay, I guess. I could play
Mm.
pretty okay from what I remember. And then
I hope
suddenly,
Azad Khan is watching this.
I have photos of me playing his sitar.
Huh?
Yeah,
Arre.
yeah. Asad and I, again, Asad now, after NAIT, Asad also was a part of this. How could I forget all these? It's been
Great guy.
a while, actually. 2 years is a long time for me. So, yeah, Asad, of course. And uh, so that happened. And then one fine day, I just picked up the bansuri. Yeah. It just happened. I don't know.
Right. And look, it's just the child in me wanting to know this stuff, right? Of course, there are so many types of flutes as well. There are about 7 or, if I'm not
A
wrong.
lot more than that.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Like, which one did you go pick first? I mean, you did say that you picked up a full size one, and
Hindustani bansuri.
huh?
Hindustani, the bamboo flute.
Right,
Hindustani,
right.
North Indian bamboo flute. And I was training to become a classical musician.
Okay.
And then, of course, there is a Carnatic bamboo version of it. And then there is, these two are the prominent Indian versions of flute. Then there is the Punjabi Algoza, which is also one form, which they play two of them together.
Oh yeah. Correct.
That's called an algoza. It's a Punjabi folk instrument. Lots of folk forms of instruments, bansuri, especially the flute. There is a Vietnamese version. There's a Cambodian version. Especially the Southeastern Asian countries have a lot of these bamboo, because bamboo is very popularly grown there. It's very
Yeah.
prominently grown there. Sorry.
Yeah.
So they do have instruments made out of bamboo which resemble the flute but have slightly different playing techniques. And there is Armenian duduk that is very famous. Naveen Bhai plays that.
Mm.
And there is the Chinese flute. Then it's called the Chinese classical flute. It's also called the rice flute, but it's not made of rice. The flute is made of wood, a particular kind of wood, not bamboo.
Mm.
But there is also another hole between the playing holes and the blowing hole. There's a hole in between which is covered with a rice paper.
Oh.
So
Okay.
it creates this vibration. So there's this, it acts like a diaphragm
Right.
and it creates a zzz sound along with the flute. So that's the Chinese classical flute. If you go and check it out, it's
I-
also called a bendi, I think, Bendi. I'm not sure if that's the same one.
Okay.
This is the Chinese flute.
Okay.
And then there is the Irish whistle. There is the ocarina made of clay. There's a
Wow.
Russian clay flute. Then there is bagpipes, of course. Then almost all woodwind instruments are based on the same formula. Your
Mm.
oboes, clarinets, your saxophone. Of course, the sound production is made through a reed,
Yeah.
but the fingering and the physics of it is all the same thing. There is Peruvian flutes. There are the pan flutes. There's a Colombian flute called quena. Quena, I think I'm pronouncing it right. Quena. Quena, and then
Okay.
there's an Alaskan flute made out of a particular bark, which is found only in Alaska. But the
Wow.
methodology, the physics of it is the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So does that mean, I mean, if you know how to play a flute, you can play any flute?
No.
Huh.
Each flute is different. There are some blessed souls who can actually pick up anything. There was this, my 2002, my first trip to US,
Yeah.
and I had heard so much about Sam Ash Music stores on 48th Street. It used to be on 48th Street that time, right after Times Square. So I ran out, spent all my savings, went to 48th Street, went into Samash, and then came out of Samash, and there was a small music store called New York Music Store. Very small place, very like a less than 50 square feet, all of it, maybe 100 square feet, all of it. And then it had 3 aisles within that. So there was this petite looking girl, and I was trying to ask her, what are these wind instruments? Can you show me? Oh, of course, there are these Turkish nays also. I picked up those, and it's been 12 years since I haven't still managed to produce a sound out of it. So she had nays there. She had recorders. Recorders, of course, she could play. She picked up the ney. She said, "This is very easy. You have to play like this." She had an accent.
Yeah.
And then, okay. Oh my God. Okay. I am trying it. That's all. And then she goes into this other section. This is Japanese shakuhachi. This is costing $1,500. I said, oh my God, I don't have that kind of money. No, I can try. So she played that. Boom, she played that. Then she played something else. And then suddenly she picked up the duduk and she's like, this is very easy. You have to play like this. You just blow. It will come. Kya come? Nothing came. And except that sound came. That's all. So it was embarrassing. But there are some blessed souls. And she was working there, poor thing.
Yeah.
I hope she has a good life. She was working there. I mean, I was so embarrassed to call myself, I'm a flute player from India, and I tried to show off. I was also, 24, 23, 24, 22, I think, I can't remember. So it was very endearing to watch someone play anything. They just picked up anything and played. And then next thing I knew, there was this saxophone player who came there. He said, I'm looking for a better instrument. She just picked up, this reed is not working. So she just took that reed. She started playing sax like a pro. Then she was playing trumpet, and she was the only sales girl there. Amazing. What some people can do. You know, obviously what...
Phil Collins.
Yeah, Phil Collins. One of those greatest musicians. He could play drums, he could play guitars, he could just do anything. So some people can do all that. They're blessed.
Wow.
It's just how their brain works, your brain has to function that way. You have to be independent of physical constraints and be able to understand how the physics of the instrument works, and you can practically play anything.
So I was living under some sort of a misconception, I think, because I was just assuming that if you know how to play a flute, you can play any flute.
You can have an idea of how to play other instruments.
Right.
But to be able to proficiently play, you need to devote at least half that time that you've done to devote one instrument.
Yeah.
Like the concert flute, for example. I can play to save my life, but I can't play like the professional concert flute players. But I can play my parts like Mukabla, that part. I played on the concert flute. I can play. But you suddenly ask me to do a jazz solo, I can't, because there are 2 aspects to it. One is the technical proficiency on the instrument itself with the keys and with the positions and everything.
Yeah.
Second is the kind of music you expect me to play. I'm not a jazz musician. So you ask me to play, I can probably play a raga solo without the meend on a concert flute.
Yeah.
Because that is music I know.
Yeah.
But it's not an instrument I know. So I can find my way through it. I can probably play G major. I can play a D minor. I can play a D major. I can play a few keys, but I can't play all 12 keys. F sharp major 7 scale. If I have to play an F sharp Lydian, F sharp Ionian, I can't do that. So yeah, instrument, there is a difference, but the point is, you can understand the workflow of how you will eventually play if you give it those 6-8 months of hard work. I guess.
Right. Wow. Amazing. And again, just out of curiosity, right? Obviously, you've toured with Sir, done heaps and heaps of concerts with Sir and with others as well. When it comes to a sound check, obviously you have an instrument that doesn't have any cables and stuff. So how do you do your sound check, and then how do you know you're satisfied with what's being produced?
I'm
prepared to go into the concert on the stage.
I know. I have to know my engineer first. I have to trust him.
Yeah.
And in the Sir's case, there is Fali Damania, the genius. And Fali and I go back a very long way. And I know Fali knows his sound and he knows my sound.
Yeah.
So all I have to do is present myself, make sure I'm getting a proper in-ear feed of my sound and the rest of the band. So I only do mostly in my sound check is it consists of my in-ear balancing,
Right.
my monitoring. And I leave the outside sound to Fali. So he will tell me. He probably go this particular show gig maybe you be very close to the microphone, or he'll just say Ashwin just stay a little keep like a 3-inch distance from the microphone.
Oh.
That's all he needs to do because I'm a very I control my dynamics with moving away, keeping varying the distances from the mic. I also control my dynamic through my volume control techniques. And if it's going to be a high flute, I already know it's going to be shrill and loud, so I just go back a little. So if you see that humma flute part that I play, I just go. I'm like this far away from the mic because I know it's a very high flute, and it is going to cut through anything.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be that close. And Fali has that trust on me too as a musician. He doesn't have to keep riding my fader.
Right.
And that's one reason why I don't also use the clip-on microphone because those who do are very, very good at controlling the dynamics in their playing. I'm not that good at controlling the dynamic with my playing alone. I need to move away from the mic to reduce more volume if I have to reduce further. Or if I have to keep it louder, then I have to really come close to the microphone. This headset stays where it is. There's no physical distance from the microphone.
Correct.
That I can't manage. I don't use that.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you say dynamics, it's the breath.
It's volume.
Right.
If I'm going to be away from the mic and sing the same thing, you can tell the difference.
Correct.
I have to be closer. Or I have to go back here. If I sing that volume here, your earbuds, your eardrums will tear out. That's controlling volume dynamic by manipulating the distance between the mic and you.
Wow, amazing. And so is there so what sort of a rehearsal goes in your no, sorry, the right way to ask is what sort of a riyaz goes in your daily life in terms of, well, of course it's your, of course, playing it with your breath, and then so much goes into the sound that gets produced. So how do you, what's your daily life like from a riyaz perspective?
At this point, I don't think there's much I can do about it because that sound is set now.
Yeah.
Initially, early days when I started off, of course, it was hard work. You had to reach your sound. You can't build a sound. You have to reach your sound. There is a point where you think, okay, this is how I'm going to sound like. That's from a sound production point of view. But my riyaz would be almost always, it's about getting better at what I do already. And if I'm at 1, then I need to become 2 tomorrow. If I'm at 2, then I need to get to grade 3 day after. And that's about it. It's not about, oh, I can play this much and I need to be better than that. No, this is what I know and I need to be better than that. Tomorrow, I need to be better than that. And that judgment comes from my own understanding, my taste in music, my appreciation, what I would like somebody else to play. Can I do that? If I can't do that, then I'm going to learn that and learn to play that and learn to play it in my way.
Right.
And then better that. It's about polishing your craft. It's not about constructing anything after a point. After a point, your construction is done already. Then all you can do is polish.
Amazing.
Get better at what you do. That's all you can do actually, because it's who you are as a person that's going to reflect in your art. So you can't suddenly magically do something different one day. It's only getting better at what you do over and over again, and then becoming better at it, right. And sustaining that also. That could sum your question and answer to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, amazing. Right, dude. It's been absolutely amazing to have you on the podcast, man. I'm not going to let you go so very easily yet,
My honor,
but
my honor. Thank you. No,
uh,
seriously, I didn't. I didn't expect something like this could happen to me. So yeah, thank you. Thank you
so the
for.
thing is, I mean, well, I apologize that I've come this late to you to get you on the podcast because I should have done that much earlier.
No, no, no.
But the fact that I've been driving the journey all by myself single handedly and 84 plus guests. So
Wow.
it's taken me a while. So I
Yeah, yeah.
apologize for that.
Not at all. Please don't.
But with the conversations that we have had and stuff like that, it just makes me wonder. I should have got you right in the very early on,
No, no,
within the
no.
first 10. And why did I miss you is what
You
I'm.
might have missed me because I'm a recluse. That's the only reason you could have missed me. Otherwise, we've had some amazing times, even in that Trichy thing.
Yeah, for
Whatever
sure.
little time we got to spend,
Yeah.
and it's great. Thank you for making me a part of this. I I feel humbled. Thank you very much.
And I want to bring you back again for podcast 2.0, which is going to
Wow.
be the second part, because there are so many other things I still want to, how should I say, ask you all the childlike questions, because these are the questions that runs in my mind. Because for me as an audience, I sit and enjoy the music that you guys produce
Yeah.
collectively
Mm.
and individually, and but I would like to know what really goes into creating those sounds. Like for example, you said you programmed this stuff for Sir, and then he was giving you directions on go to this click, and then there is a synth. This just amazes me as to how much of hard work goes into producing that tiny sound.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's a there is a story behind every method. I'm not trying to glamorize this whole thing, but
Yeah,
there is a
yeah.
beautiful story behind every process. Most definitely with Sir and around him, but also in each one of our individual
Mm,
works. Also, there
mm,
are tiny snippets of stories where you've created something, and you don't really create in
mm.
the dictionary sense of the word. You just assimilate from what you hear in your head. So
Beautiful.
when that happens at that moment, how fluid you are in in that
Mm,
in letting that moment pass through you,
mm,
which is also why the need to learn how to let life happen. Because when that moment comes, if you try to impose your mood for the day on that, then it's going to corrupt
mm,
itself.
mm, mm,
Might as well let it float in. Your fluidity is very important for that assimilation of notes to happen. So there is a snippet of story behind every such passage, every such good passage, beautiful music that you hear around the world, from around the world, whoever has made it. uh, there are lovely anecdotes, if
mm,
I can say that,
mm,
just experiences.
mm,
And how many of those are uh, they can be expressed in words? Not so many, but the very feeling of being there in that moment, and the realization that it has passed through you,
mm,
the individual, as
mm.
that is magical. That realization is magical.
Beautiful, beautiful. And also, look, as part of this journey, this I Love ARR community has come together where all the fans have got together and things like that. So there are many aspiring musicians there too, and many
Yeah.
of them play instruments. So is there some sort of a guidance or something of that sort that you would like to share? Especially being in the industry for this long and having worked with Sir for this long, I'm sure
Mhm.
you would have something to share for these aspiring musicians.
Just be yourself and learn to love your craft. If you think you already do love your craft, you don't love it enough. And that's the loop. Go to rule number one. If rule number two is wrong, then go to rule number one. That's it. That's the core essence of existence.
Yeah,
If you think you love your craft enough, you don't.
yeah.
You're mistaken. You need to just love it a little more. Then it's a again it's transactional. The more love you give to your craft, to your art, to your music,
Yeah,
the more it will respond back, and
very
you will
true.
see it after a point. It will initially play hard to get, But once it starts to respond, then it's a different world. And then you want to give more to it, spend more time learning. It's now, I don't even know if whatever I'm going to say is going to be relevant to this generation, because what I've seen is people just are spending hours on end watching somebody else play games on YouTube here. I'm sure your viewers are not from that category.
No.
But predominantly, that's who I've seen teenagers wanting to be. Also, they want, I've spoken to young kids. They say, I want to be a YouTuber and make money. So if that is your goal in life, it's a very short-lived goal, and you will make a lot of money, but I don't know what will happen eventually. I really wish you all the best from, very genuinely, I wish you all the best, but that's not what life is about. And if you are a musician, if you're aspiring to be part of an industry, you have to be yourself. Just be cool. Don't be this other person. Don't try to be somebody else, because that somebody else has already become. Be yourself. And that's that learning is more important than you learning any music, any in-depth theory or technique or technology or whatever it is that you want to learn. Beyond all that, the very knowledge of how to be yourself is most important, because that is what is going to come out in your music. If you are a conspiring, conniving guy inside and you just appear to be very humble, your music is going to show off that conniving side to you.
True.
You can't escape that, because that's who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Music is going to speak your personality. So you build on that. Become the guy that you want to become for yourself. You can't become, I can't become A.R. Rahman, or A.R. Rahman couldn't become Michael Jackson, or Michael Jackson couldn't become James Brown. But these people took inspirations from there. But they had a lot to say from their own individuality. So it's like saying, okay, I'm going to become like my English teacher, so I'm going to speak English like her. But my English teacher is she's continuing to be teacher. For me, unless I want to be a teacher, then I'll be a teacher like the way I would be. I can't be my English teacher. She's already become, or he has already become. Ustaz Zakir Hussain has already become.
Yeah.
You can't be another Zakir Hussain. You can be you.
True.
So that's all you need to learn.
Beautiful. Very nicely put. I'm sure it's going to be inspiring, a number of those. And yeah. And lastly, buddy, look, I would like you to give a message for Sir via this podcast. And Sir does keep a tab on the podcast, so he does get
you should have told me this earlier. I would have not. I still couldn't have been prepared to say anything, but yeah.
No. I send him the important clips, and he does watch them. And yes, so if there's a message that you can share for Sir via this podcast, that will be amazing. And then also, look, even if you want to play something, that will be even more amazing. It's totally up to you. I'll leave this.
I'm not equipped for that at this point.
Okay.
Because yesterday we changed this whole setup, so I'm not
Understand. So yeah, put you on the spot, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'll still be myself anyway. So, Sir, thank you very, very much for being you. Because that is the biggest gift you could give all of us. And we love you more than you can ever know, more than we'll ever know. Thanks once again.
Amazing. And especially the part that you mentioned very early on in the podcast is where, you just felt something, and when you went to his LA home, and then, tears started rolling down. And it always happens, man. Every time I go see Sir, and I couldn't tell you a reason why, but something happens, and I'm teary-eyed whenever Sir is around, and he's only smiling, looking at me, and then, but I don't know, I can relate to it, and something happens internally for me, and that's the aura he has.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's the respect we have for him, and the love he gives back to us as well. And
So true.
yeah, it makes me emotional even when I'm talking about it, but that's what this man does.
Absolutely, absolutely. Every time, when he's around, there's a divine aura around him,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
is because of who he is. All those qualities that and more, of course, that we just spoke of,
yeah.
and that's what creates that aura. Now those youngsters can hopefully make sense of what I said earlier. Be yourself and be true
Yeah,
to what you do, and that's all it takes actually.
yep.
Name, fame, popularity, money, all of that is incidental. It's a residual factor. It may
Mm,
or may not happen because there are too many other factors that work around it. The industry doesn't remain the same. you know uh, if they were to make Roja today instead of when it got made,
mm.
I don't think our industry today is ready for an AR Rahman phenomenon. So even if Sir had given the music to it, I'm not very sure. I have my doubts because of what they're trying to sell today
Correct.
from that industry,
Yeah.
not because of anything. That I'm not taking away anything from his greatness, but the mechanics or the dynamics of the economy or the dynamics of the industry, the way what they're trying to sell today in
Mm,
today's times, in the films, in the music, in every department,
mm,
there is that element of honesty missing. I feel honesty is missing. Everything is manufactured, everything is plastic,
mm.
and talent hunt shows, you see, they're grooming children to become what they are not. So everything is manufactured because they want to sell. They just you see the uh, you can study the pattern in how it's all being marketed to you.
True.
So I don't think we would have an AR Rahman if Roja was made today. So we are thankful not only to Sir, but to Mani Sir, to everybody involved in at that time. The honesty, the industry, the integrity of the industry at that time,
Rightly said.
for having allowed a Roja to happen and for having allowed Rahman Sir to,
Mm,
reach us.
yeah.
That is missing today. That
Mm,
the degree of honesty is totally missing today. And I'm not being pessimistic. I've seen uh, that at all levels, from corporate to marketing to production to then eventually burning down to cost cutting and hiring half baked hands.
mm,
Everybody needing the opportunity, of course. I mean, not taking away from that, but then they are not ready for that project. So there is a lot of mismatch
mm,
in coming together of resources.
mm.
They're not the ideal resource for this.
Yeah.
And hence the projects fail. So then you have the corporates thinking that, we can sell anything we want. And then they force you to do remixes. God knows what and all they force you to do. And these people also think that, oh, I'll probably become famous if I do this. And becoming famous is the goal. And unfortunately, and because of that is why we are not really doing the art that we want to do.
True.
It's a very simple equation. If you
Yeah.
take away that need for recognition, if you really do good work, you will be recognized.
Mm,
That's about it.
yeah.
Your need for recognition doesn't need to precede every other aspect of your work.
Mm, true.
I don't think it's going to reverse itself because now it's a trend nowadays. Everybody is doing covers. There is too many people doing good work, no doubt. But if I have to be honest, they are not up to the mark.
Yeah.
They are good. They're promising. They're prospective, but they're not there.
Right.
They don't know it. For them, it's that 15 minutes of Instagram fame or YouTube fame, and that's about it. They
Yeah.
think that they have it in them, but they don't really have the patience to learn
Mm,
and devote what it takes to give to their art. And that is why they are not getting anywhere. It's not because people don't want them to come out and shine.
true. Yeah. Very, very rightly said.
I
Yeah.
hope it changes for the good because today's stars are going to be tomorrow's legends.
Mm,
And the trend, unfortunately, is such that anybody and everybody is being called a legend now. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
We don't have that uh, uh, ability to classify, identify the great from the good, from the mediocre, from we don't have it. Everybody is a legend, everybody is a god, everybody is great. Doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
If that was the case, your parents wouldn't be looking for the best schools to teach you.
Mm. Mm.
You could have been going to any school.
True. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, very
My
right.
face intact.
and yeah, something that I want to share. I think it was during one of the general conversations that I was having with sometime back, and then I remember he said, I think we were talking about fame and stuff in general, and then Sir said, "Look, okay, talk about fame. Fame, you'll get fame today. Yes, okay, great, awesome, but what about tomorrow? You still have to go back and do the work.
Yeah,
it is not going to sustain."
Totally. That is why you need the in-depth knowledge in what you do. Just doing one cover with a guitar, 4 chords, guitar progression is not going to make you a star, and that stardom is not going to last for you.
Correct. Yeah. Right. Buddy, it's been absolutely amazing. And then before I let you go, I've been requested by the fans to take an e-selfie with all the guests and not let them go without taking the picture. So you can stay as you are. You can look at the camera and I will take a picture from here and just pull up the program that I want and then boom. Yes. We'll take 2 pictures.
One like this.
One is a normal one. The other one is make a funny face. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Just bear with me for 1 sec.
I'm not doing that pose again.
Okay, now this is a normal one. Okay, great. I love it.
Oh dear, that's okay. Yeah, then.
And then now is the, what do you call, the funny face one. Yes. Okay, perfect. I love it. We got that. I think we nailed that shot.
See, when you love your subject.
I love it, man. Dude, I thoroughly enjoyed, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this podcast, and then I regret that I didn't bring you on early, but I'm super thrilled. The fun fact is, I'm going to bring you back on Podcast 2.0. I have so many other topics to chat with you about.
I'll look forward to that.
Why did I not know this, that I had to talk to you earlier?
There's a time for everything, as they say. It's all that cosmic occurrence, when it has to happen, and it will happen at that time. Amavasya doesn't happen every day. It happens every month.
Believe it or not, it was just early last week. All of a sudden, I was sipping my coffee, and then I don't know. You came up in my. I think that's probably because I saw your picture on the fridge.
Right. Yeah.
The Badam Milk Group picture, and that's when I recollected. I think, and then I straight away got in touch, and then So thanks so much for accepting my invite straight away. You've been extremely humble, and yes, really appreciate it, buddy.
Me too. Feeling is mutual.